live on Facebook and YouTube. Like us, follow us, and be the first to know. This is the Comrade Show. The Comrade Show. Wait, Comrade.
Yes, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all fellow Nigerians from across the world. This is the Comrade Show. My name is Comrade Lamte Oriahi. Of course, I'm here to do some discourse on the state of Nigeria, particularly as it affects security. And so many things, are going on in Nigeria presently, but one thing that's on the top burner today is the issue of insecurity. Of course, we are aware that recently some boys were, about 27 boys and a few more, were abducted by bandits, they say, in Niger State, and all of that. The federal government of Nigeria, of course we know they are not doing anything, but they always come out to make statements. But however, there is one human being who has been at the center of this whole matter in recent days. He's been making statements and all of that. And they are made, to our amazement, there is no authority, nobody from the federal government had actually come out, to say they want to, confront this man, to know at least what he knows. No DSS, no SSS, no, security apparatus of states had invited this man to say, what do you know that we need to know? The man has been meeting with bandits. He's been discussing with bandits. He's been telling Nigerians and the Nigerian government what bandit means. As a matter of fact, within the last 24 hours or so, 48 hours, he came out to say that the boys kidnapped or abducted by these bandits that he had negotiated with, that the boys are likely to be released today, the 21st of February. Now, it begs a lot of questions. The questions that we need answers for, Nigerians are not getting answers. And since the man has been making some of these statements, I am amazed that the entire media space of Nigeria is not already talking about this. It's not really worried about this. That we have been talking about Boko Haram bandits in this country. And today we have somebody who is very close to them. And yet we are not asking questions. It's like business as usual. I am not talking of any other person other than the Sheikh Gumi, and a popular Islamic cleric in Nigeria. The man had come out to say that the boys will be released today, 21st of February. The man had come out to say that Nigerian government should go ahead and grant amnesty to these bandits. As a matter of fact, he compared the bandits to the Niger Delta, militant, and the amnesty granted to the Niger Delta, militant in their struggle and in their agitations, as it were. All of these need to be put in perspective. Of course, we know from all that is happening, a huge vacuum has been created by the government of Muhammadu Buhari to allow people like this, to be huge players in all of this. As a matter of fact, Lai Mohammed came out to shamefully say that the bandits don't want to talk to the government. They feel more comfortable talking to Sheikh Gumi. Who, Nigerians, is Sheikh Gumi? Is he the only Islamic cleric we have in Nigeria? Now, why I am not out here to condemn Sheikh Gumi and what he's doing, but I'm actually here to let everybody know that the failure of this government of Buhari is not just abysmal, it's an embarrassment to the nation. And that there is a need for us as a people to start taking a very firm stand. Now, the shame of the government of Buhari is equally the shame of all, or almost all of the elected representatives from the South-South geopolitical zone. I'm going to start from Imo State. But before we do that, my people, I will start this matter from the very basis so we know where we are. So as the day go by, let the world know that at least some of us spoke. Some of us were alive to our responsibilities. Some of us spoke without fear of intimidation. And the truth is, if we have to save this country, if we have to save Nigeria, there is a dire need for all of us to wake up, to understand that what is before us is mightier than what we can see or what we can bargain for. But I want to play this video from one time a political leader, one time a information minister in Nigeria who made certain claims, and today nobody has called him to say, sir, what do you know that we need to know? But let us take a listen. It's an establishment on this discourse that I want to have with us.
Abacha. And people don't give him his due. Do you think you'd have tolerated such nonsense? General Abacha famously said that if an insurgency lasts for more than 2 days, the government knows. That is the real and the truth. And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. 1 or 2 who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They're already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They're everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria. Don't joke with what I'm saying. I have a PhD from Oxford University. I'm a central banker. We don't talk nonsense. So don't joke with what I'm telling you. I have this from the...
Okay. In a society where people mean business, there is no reason why this man should not be invited by the State Security Department, by the DSS, by everybody, okay, to find out what he knows. And of course, to see if we can have a clue from what he knows. The man has made some indictments. That's a northern governor, some of the 7 northern governors, they are the commander of the Boko Haram and the bandits, because he said that the bandits and Boko Haram, they are one and the same. And there's the agenda. He said they're already in the south, which we can see on a daily basis. They are there. They've trooped in. You understand what I'm saying? And all of that. Okay, this is already evident. Okay, and all of that. And by the time they get through, they have a timeline. After the rural killings, by the time they get to a crescendo, they will move to. They will move to what's it called? They will move to the urban areas. You understand what I'm saying? And all of that. Start killing people and all that. So the whole game is to kill people, intimidate them to submission. And in 2022, like he alleged, okay, there's a plan that they're going to start some civil war and all that. So he had contact with some people who are able to reveal this. Some of these plans may have been amended and all that, okay? But today, the activities of Sheikh Gumi is revealing to us that a lot more is ongoing, okay? That Nigerian government may be aware of, are pretending not to be aware of, and nobody is telling us. But some people already know because they are part of this game plan. This Sheikh Gumi holding a meeting with the said supposed terrorists and bandits.
Kawai aka ci gaba da kaka ta ruwa na ɗauke sojoji na zaka wanda sun ka kashe su kuma sauran 'yan garuruwa ɗemiyoyi ba su gana sai da an kai ba mu yaki ko ƙarya ce cewa ba aka yi wadare mu aka ce mu dawo sulhu aka dawo aka zanna tsohon gwamnati aka ce an yi sulhu an yarjejeniya muka dawo.
Honestly, I don't understand why this is normal. Why today Sheikh Gumi has not, been invited by the security apparatus of state to know what he knows. The man had said, after negotiation, it's not the first time the man is meeting with bandits and terrorists. Now, the reason who is Sheikh Gumi, the reason why Sheikh Gumi must be the one who is the intermediary, who sees these people that the Nigerian government do not see. He meets with them to the extent that Lai Mohammed shamefully, shamelessly revealed and told Nigerians that the bandits and terrorists, okay, they are more comfortable talking to Sheikh Gumi. Is that not enough reason why a right-thinking government would want to know who is Sheikh Gumi? What is his genuine role in this matter? In one of the footages I saw, interpreted, Sheikh Gumi was telling the bandits that the people firing at them are not the Muslims. They are the unbelievers. That message was clear to say your target must be non-Muslims in Nigeria. That's my interpretation. I stand to be corrected. Now, the role of Sheikh Gumi in this matter, he's the one who's not telling us that the kidnapped and abducted boys will be released on the 21st, which is today that I'm doing this video right now. Now, he had gone ahead to actually make a request from the federal government of Nigeria to say that the bandits should be granted amnesty. Should be granted amnesty the way amnesty was granted to the Niger Delta boys. Fellow Nigerians, we have big troubles on our hands. A very big trouble. And most especially to those of the South-South divide. The Bible famously said that the children of Issachar, they knew the time and they knew what Israel ought to do. This same Bible in Ecclesiastes, he talked about time and the importance of time. But the wisdom behind time is the one I take away from the Bible. Understanding the time that we are in, there is a time to laugh. There is a time to be serious. There is a time to look at the surface. There is a time to look beyond the surface and look in between the lines. There is a time to be together. There is a time to be separate. We as a people have to start deciding. I will tell you why. Sheikh Gumi has come out to say that the bandits and the terrorists, they are already, pulling resources together to acquire, anti-air missiles to enable them bring down, Nigerian government helicopters and plane, fighter jets and all those kind of things and all of that. And footages like this have been flying all across the internet. These are things that ordinary people don't have access to. That even our own Nigerian government, they are struggling to have access to, superior weapons like this. Then, in the midst of all of these struggles, in the midst of all of these, issues around us, what you see sometimes is that the Minister of Defense will come out to tell you that security is not just going to be left in the hands of the military, that you, the villagers, should go ahead and confront the bandits. Bandits who are holding things like this that can even bring down aircraft. He tells us freely that we should not be cowards. We should be seen defending ourselves, against things like this. Standing our ground. When they come, we should not be running away. We should be defending ourselves and all of that. All this happening in Nigeria, and nobody is coming out to say, the Minister of Defense, you are a stupid man. You are a stupid man and a foolish man who don't know his job. Nobody's coming out to say that. Everybody, to us in the South, it is looking like it is business as usual. It is not business as usual. There are people orchestrating orchestrating plans to run us all over. And the reason why they want to run the South is because of the oil of the South. It's because of the oil of the Niger Delta. Because they believe strongly that oil of the Niger Delta is their personal property. And that is why you will hear one human being like this come out to say things like this, and nobody is afraid.
But then God has made us to stay together. So why can't we attempt to stay together? And I honestly do not mind, even if we're going to part ways. let's sit on the table, around the table, and agree that, look, that oil of Bielsa, Jigawa cannot have a share. No way. You know, I don't mind us talking like that. But as of today, that oil, we shall do everything within our means, everything with our blood, to defend our oil in Bielsa. We will do everything possible to defend that oil in Bielsa. It belongs to Jigawa State as well. You know, so that's what I want them to understand. This country fought civil war. And that's probably why we...
Now, you see, if you see the impunity with which this man is talking, okay, there's a whole lot coming together. You understand? These things are not disjointed. There are people holding meetings somewhere in the north. There are some northern oligarchs holding meetings somewhere. All this is they are saying. They are being sent. They are sent a direct message. Nobody will test the depth of the waters with both feet together. People will press about put one leg inside the water. You cannot test the water in the well with both feet together. You want to test it with one leg first and see what the reaction is. Now these human beings are saying these things and they are not getting any reaction from anywhere. It was the same way Boko Haram started. Started from the core north. Now, as they are expanding to the south, they no longer want to call it Boko Haram, they want to call them bandits. And yet they are one and the same. They are one and the same. That is why the Bauchi state government will come out and say that the Fulani herdsmen, they have a right to bear firearms. They have a right to hold AK-47. They have a right to kill our people. And they have a right to go anywhere they want to go in Nigeria. Nobody's reminding him and telling him that they don't have a right to step into my property if I don't want them there. They don't have the right to be in any part of Edo State if the owners of the land do not want them to be there. They don't have the right to be anywhere in the West if the owners of the West do not invite them to be there. Of course, there are Edo people all across everywhere in Nigeria and across the world. Wherever we are, okay, we are not a disturbance to the people out there. We have either rented where we are living or where we are doing our job, or we have bought it outrightly. Now, these herdsmen who are everywhere, where is their land? Where did they buy? Where did they rent? You tell me that they are staying in the bushes. Are the bushes not belonging to people? I will speak now for Edo State as a case in point. I am saying this without fear of contradiction and without fear of intimidation, that we do not want herdsmen, particularly the killer ones. You are a header, you are heading your cows with guns. We don't want you in Edo territory. We don't. Edo people don't want you. If you are found in Edo State, whatever you see, you take it. Whatever you see, you take it. Now, we must understand something. The young man Kanu, what's his name, Nnamdi Kanu, came out, looked at all of this, probably saw them a long time ago, and all of that. The young man, because of the quagmire, the political, economic, and social security quagmire of the Nigerian state, began to emancipate his people. And because there's a vacuum, he's got large followership. Today, there's Eastern Security Network. All of this is an attempt to try to defend their home front. I am coming right now to the Eastern region of Nigeria. And I want to say that as a person, I am ashamed of the Imo State governor. I am ashamed of the Imo State governor. Whatever the Imo State governor is doing right now replicates what most elected South leaders are doing. The Imo State governor has opened his own boundaries and allowed the federal government to come to Olu to the extent that they are being allowed to be using air power to strike people where there is no war. And the places where bandits are operating, where Boko Haram are kidnapping and killing people, with impunity, we do not have airstrikes reported. My people, just watch. I want to play this footage I saw. I bleed in my heart that somebody once said that when oppression is taking place, and it's sustained, know that there are connivers, okay? amongst those that are oppressed. The Supreme Court governor of Imo State, you have become an oppressor of your own people. You have, to the extent that your own commissioner came out to say that the Imo State people already arrested by the police, they are now going to face a court judgment, okay, and they will face the highest punishment, and that will be death penalty. You are the one conniving with strangers to kill your people. These things are not happening anywhere else in the country. They are not happening in the north. The northerners are not conniving to kill their people. The northerners are helping, aiding, and abetting terrorists. At least some of them, not all of them. I can accuse the Bauchi State governor as one of those today, okay, that we can allege strongly that he's aiding and abetting terrorists and criminality in Nigeria. We can faithfully say so based on the statement to say that they have a right to bear firearms, so long as the laws of Nigeria, the weak constitution of Nigeria as it is, has not provided that law to say certain aspects of the Nigerian state, some human beings can carry weapons and others cannot carry. Then, the governor of Bauchi State had no right whatsoever. But I'll play that footage. But before I get to that footage, I want you to see this. I want you to see this, my people. I want you to see this. This is Olu, a place at peace. A place at peace. A place at peace. The federal government of Nigeria is deploying machineries, deploying military, deploying all the powers of the military of Nigeria to declare war where there's peace. And yet where we have war, there is nothing happening there. That's a Nigerian aircraft. We need this aircraft where Boko Haram is operational, where the bandits are killing Nigerians. But this is Olu in Imo State. It's Olu in Imo State. Air power. They are looking for ESN members.
Wow, Kelsey came down and like this. Jesus.
That's airstrike.
Which kind of save this one?
That's airstrike.
Yeah,
in a place of peace.
It's not gone now.
In a place of peace.
Hey, Jesus Christ, so Kevin come. Hey! Kepani enda na gari bikoni. Kepani enda na boy Jesus. The kwebe.
There is no way. Now it's often said. I don't know, whom the credit goes to, but says that no army can stop any idea which time has come. You cannot intimidate the people to submission. You cannot. The only thing that can save this country is a genuine discourse on how this country should run. A genuine discourse on how the country should run. That is the only thing. There is no way the people can be intimidated to submission. There is no way. There is a resolve in the Eastern region by the majority of the people to say, look, we want a referendum. Look, the Igbos are not the Fulanis. The Igbos are not the Hausas. The Hausas are not the Yorubas. We are distinctly different from each other. The marriage of the Nigerian state, is the biggest error in the globe. The marriage of the Nigerian state is the most faulty marriage ever in history. Unless and until the people indigenously come together to discuss the terms of relationship, there is no way you can intimidate them. Because for one human being to come out to say the oil of the Niger Delta belongs to Taraba State because we are Nigerians, and yet the gold is Zamfara. Nobody is saying publicly that the gold is Zamfara belongs to all of us Nigerians. The Central Bank of Nigeria is paying billions to buy gold from Zamfara State. It is not a state property, but we are making that of the Niger Delta. Destroying the land in Niger Delta. No water for fishing. Nothing is happening in Niger Delta because we are taking away from Niger Delta. Now. Sheikh Gumi, I won't forget that. He said they should be granted amnesty, the bandits. Okay? And I want to allege that these bandits are under the sponsorship of the Bauchi State Governor. I want to equally allege, okay, that Sheikh Gumi is a stakeholder in the affairs of these bandits. As we speak right now, negotiations are ongoing, and there is no way any of these boys are going to be released without some ransom being paid. Even though the federal government is already telling us, oh, they are not going to pay ransom to release them. Why did they kidnap them before in the first place if they are not expecting ransom? Now you are telling us, Sheikh Gumi, that they should be granted amnesty as they did with the Niger Delta people. Let me quickly explain something. The Niger Delta struggle in the time of amnesty that was granted by the administration of Goodluck Jonathan was a far different struggle from this. The Niger Delta people did not go to Bauchi State to kill people. They did not go to Kano State to kill people. They did not go to Imo State to kill people. They did not go to Nasarawa State to kill people. As a matter of fact, the Niger Delta people were not all about killing people. The only struggle they had was that you are taking oil from our land and we are not getting in equal measure what you are taking from our land. So we want to start bombing the pipelines. We want to create, make our own Niger Delta environment ungovernable for anybody. And because the Nigerian government, even though we had Goodluck Jonathan as president, of course we knew that the policies and programs of the Nigerian state was being orchestrated from the north. Decided to grant that amnesty so that there will be peace, so that the government can be taking a billion-fold more than what they are giving to the people, which is not equivalent. This country today, if people are not aware, the wealth of this country is concentrated in the hands of a few people. And the wealth of this country is coming from the same Niger Delta, the oil of the Niger Delta. That is why this man, this human being, can come out
together
with all effort.
And anybody who threatens,
say what he
unless
said,
if we are defeated, then we can leave the oil. But if anybody threatens the flow of oil, we shall fight and make sure oil flows. Ijo oil, Bayelsa oil belongs to Jigawa people. And we shall do everything possible to defend our oil in Bayelsa.
Now you see the impunity. Oh my God! You see the way this guy is provoking every mind from the south to anger. The only people who cannot afford to be angry right now are those who are elected senators from the south, because they are getting crumbs and they think that is the end of the world. When at the end of the day, some of them are already earmarked to die in the hands of this terrorist that is ravaging everywhere right now. When at the end of the day, some of them are already in the books of death to be slaughtered by these terrorists, but they are not speaking now because they think that with the crumbs they are getting. This is why the Deputy Senate President from the South, we come out and say the National Assembly has no right to invite Buhari to come and destroy and tell us why Nigeria is insecure. This is why the Imo State Governor, the Supreme Court Governor, will open his doors for the federal government to come and be bombing all the people, to be bombing the Easterners. And it is like business as usual. Everywhere, nobody's at rest. People are not, nobody's talking. This is why. But at the end of the day, all of you who are conniving with your press to oppress your people, you are the ones delaying the judgment day. You are the ones making it difficult for us to have this discourse where we say we need our state police, where we say we need the regions and the states to control their resources. Nigeria is multi-blessed. Leave the oil of the Niger Delta for the Niger Delta. Go and grow your groundnut. Go and grow your yam. Go and grow the things you have in your region. Stay with your God. We are not struggling with you. But leave the Niger Delta people, leave the Sasa people, and let them equally have their own life. We want to have a discussion on all of this matter. Let us know where we are going to. Because the matter, like I always say, has become a matter of your tent, O Israel. When I have ESN, whether you like it or not, as a person, I don't completely agree with the modus operandi of Nnamdi Kanu. I don't, in very many ways. But I must tell you the truth. The stand and the support the young man has to have Eastern Security Network, where the governors of the South have failed. I give kudos to the young man. He's a man with brave heart, and I love him for that. It is the failure of those that we have bestowed power on, the vacuum they created, that is giving room for us to play, to defend our people. Today, I am very sure that Boko Haram and bandits are not lurking around anywhere in the east. But because they've been chased out of the east, they cannot go to other parts of the south. The Westerners are equally, taking the bull by the horns. They are chasing them away. And so everybody should borrow a leaf from that. We don't want terrorist herdsmen in the name of whatever. Herding a cow. If you're a cattle rearer, you're a herder, it's big business. We want to treat it as business and keep your cows in your regions. Build your ranches. If you don't have food, encourage and come to the south and buy hay. We will produce hay and sell for you to go and give your cows. Everybody must mind his business and his territory. That is what the Nigerian destiny is right now. The Constitution of Nigeria is no longer a document that we can rely on. It's not. It's a one-sided document. It's a fake document. It's an illegitimate document that needs to be reviewed as urgently as possible. Because every interest in that document was not considered when it was being done. But hear what this man has to say. What this man has to say in the time when the Constitution was being put together. Just hear, please. What you have to say.
49 people selected to write a constitution, wrote a constitution. 40 people in the Supreme Military Council promulgated a constitution for us. Under General Abubakar, government in which I served, I was in executive council. I never saw the draft constitution. And I was Minister of Information. It was my responsibility to publicize it to the country. On the day of swearing in of Obasanjo, we didn't have a copy of the constitution. I didn't know who was printing it. And my ministry was supposed to pay for the printing. And Obasanjo was sworn on a constitution that had not been read by anybody. And the National Assembly could not be constituted until 4 days after he swearing in, because there was no clean copy of the constitution. You cannot build on quicksand. And the country cannot live on falsehood.
Apparently, Nigeria is living on falsehood, as claimed and alleged by the Minister of Information in the time of Abu Salami. The country is living on falsehood. The constitution itself is false. It's called a kangaroo constitution given to Nigeria. And we are saying that, everything has to come to the basis. We need a national discourse. If we must be together as a people, okay? If we must be together as a people, there must be a genuine discourse with every interest taken into account. This same constitution we have as a document, upon which so many things are operating right now, there is no mention of Christianity in the constitution. There is none. None whatsoever. But Islam is mentioned everywhere in that constitution. There is provision for Islamic this, Islamic that, Islamic that. There is no provision for any Christian this or Christian that. A constitution that did not take the interest of other segments of the Nigerian nation into consideration cannot be a legitimate constitution. So therefore, some of us declare, and rightly so too, that as we speak, Nigeria has no constitution, and that is why we cannot criminalize the Eastern Security Network. We cannot. That is why we cannot criminalize Amotekun. That is why we cannot criminalize anything. But people have a right to defend themselves. And this is why we as a people must take the bull by the horns. The Minister of Defense has said we should defend ourselves. He has said so, okay? Irrespective of any document or whatsoever, he has said that the bandits have a right to carry, by insinuation. He didn't say that directly, but he has insinuated that the people carry this kind of weapons, we should defend ourselves against them. That is trying to say that they have a right to carry this kind of weapons. Let us, where is that footage? I'm going to want to play his words. Please, let's take a listen, please. Make it obvious that I'm going to talk.
The responsibility of the military alone. It's the responsibility of everybody to keep alert and find safety when necessary. but we shouldn't be cowards. At times, the banditry will only come with about 3 rounds of ammunition. When they fire shot, everybody runs. In our younger days, we stand to fight any aggression coming to us. I don't know why people are running away from mano, thing like that. They should stand and let these people know that even the villagers, they have the competence and capability to defend themselves. But our own duty is to ensure no Nigerian is hurt and we're capable of protecting the integrity of this nation. And I will continue to do it even though we are so stretched.
Are you supporting?
Now, you see, oh shit. He said they carry 3 bullets, people start running away. The villages that have been emptied in the north, in Zamfara, in Bauchi, the villages and the villages that have been killed, the 40 farmers that were killed, and Lai Mohammed came out to say, the governor of Buhari came out to say they did not take permission. They were not killed by 3 bullets. This man needs to be reminded that the atrocities that are taking place, even the terrorists that we have caught in Edo State, in the name of herdsmen, they were not holding 3 bullets. Some of them were holding sophisticated weapons. The ones that are being caught, they catch every day, they are not holding 3 bullets. You cannot empower some people with weapons and leave others. The shameless Minister of Defense came out to say that Nigerians should defend themselves. When you have withdrawn power from the people, you have not given them equal power. Do I have a right to bear weapon and to be here talking like this? Do I have a right to have AK-47, have assault rifles and everything? I will be here talking like this. I will go to my village and mobilize my people and go to the bushes. And thank God some of them are taking responsibility right now. What right now does the federal government have now to say? I pity those policemen who are still out there trying to say, oh, you cannot hold weapons to defend yourself. Just leave our vigilantes alone. Our vigilantes should not be disturbed at all in any way, shape, or form. Whatever they have to defend themselves, thank God we have a word from the minister. But all of this that we see right now, all of this quagmire is already leading to the doom of the Nigerian state. Except, of course, people are ready to say this should not be. Already, what we are seeing right now, the governors of the South came together and they sent a strong word to Buhari and said, look, we need restructuring. Till today, it's been months now. Till today, there's been no response. The man doesn't talk about anything. Nothing. He doesn't respond to anything. And so he gives room and space for people like Sheikh Gumi to not be the ones playing, be the ones telling everybody what to do. Sheikh Gumi has come out to say that they are buying, anti-aircraft weapon to be bringing down Nigerian aircraft, wherever they find them. These people can go to Olu to declare war against Eastern Security Network. And yet, they are not declaring total war against Boko Haram. In a country where a government is empowered to control the military, control the defense, control everything, this same country is not declaring war on terrorism. It's not declaring war on terrorism. What kind of a nation do we have? I remember when I remember water run away me eyes, oh, aye, water run away me eyes, oh. When I remember Nigeria, aye, water run away me eyes, oh. I remember just a few years ago, listen, this man I want to play his footage right now. This is what he said. We have not forgotten. We shall not forget. Because these are the ones right now who are just need to take over power in 2023. But what they fail to realize is that there may be no 2023 as far as Nigeria is concerned. There may be none. There may be none. And if there isn't, it is right to be so. But let us take a listen to this man. Let's take a listen.
This is their record. The exchange rate has moved from 120 to the dollar to 240 to the dollar. That is Jonathan's record. Jobs have been destroyed. livelihoods have been destroyed, over 1 million people have been displaced because of incompetent and corrupt security mismanagement. Meanwhile, during this period, oil prices have been at their all-time high. Trillions have been budgeted for security, but the only thing you see are mansions in Abuja owned by ministers of defense and generals. We know these houses, we know the owners. This is the record of the Jonathan administration in the last 6 years. That's why they don't want to talk about it. So what do they talk about? They move from church to church preaching religious division. They move from town to town preaching ethnic division. They have no record to run on. They take photographs of private estates and claim that the government built the estates. They take photographs of railway bullet trains from Port Harcourt and claim that it's federal government train system.
That's some criticism of the government of Goodluck Jonathan, by El-Rufai, when they were jostling to bring Buhari on board. The dollar then was 200 and something. I don't know why he has not come out now. Looking at this, he said about Jonathan, to come out now and, of course, compare equally with what we now have. They don't. Okay, all of them. Okay, they no longer talk about all that. Now, while I am not trying to, make any, comparison, not trying to justify, the administration of Goodluck Jonathan in itself. You would expect that these human beings right now who laid a platform for us to have what we now have, okay, should be the ones right now in front, left, right, and side and corner, telling Nigerians that what we have right now is nonsense and this government must go. But they won't do that. They won't do that because they are all part of the agenda. The agenda to keep us in this mess. The agenda to keep everybody in this cocoon because they are all individually benefiting from it. I pity the Northerners. I pity the Northerners because a lot of the Northern people are ordinary people like you and I. At the end of the day, when the thing is set, say it happened, and there's war or something close to that, okay, the people who will suffer and die are these ordinary people who have no direct stake in this matter, who probably would even wish there was peace. But the people who are doing all this now, leading. The other man said they will be releasing the boys from the Niger Delta, from the Kagara, from the government secondary school, right? Kagara, Rafi local government in Niger State. They will release them for ransom. But before long, because these guys are no longer the bandits sponsored by these governors and by the leaders of these bandits. Okay, like we can easily allege that Sheikh Gumi is one of them. We can allege, okay, I stand to be corrected. Let him come out clean. If the federal government of Nigeria cannot call him to order to ask exactly what he knows, you understand what I'm saying now? Then let us know. Nigerians need to know. Who is Sheikh Gumi? Why is that Sheikh Gumi is the one who is telling us that the bandits are buying anti-aircraft missile? Why is that Sheikh Gumi is the one who is telling us when they are releasing the boys? Why is that Sheikh Gumi is the one who is telling the federal government to grant them amnesty? Who is Sheikh Gumi in this government of Buhari? Who is he? At the end of the day, hundreds of millions or even billions will be paid to release these boys. Before long, they will kidnap more. They will kidnap more. The federal government of Nigeria will be made to pay so much to release them. Before now, Nigerian government is already considering granting amnesty to people who are killing Nigerians. Oh my God! Amnesty. Blessed memory. So they go start their magic. They go start their magic. Then go they start them corruption, start. So they go they start and small. Before you know what is happening, it will go to the National Assembly. We have one Lawan there, the president of the Senate, the president of the Senate. Okay, a lame dog Senate, a shoe shiner to the presidency. One who has made no impact to change the narrative of the Nigerian state at all. The entire Senate, the entire National Assembly, the House of Reps wanted to even shake body. They quelled them. They prevailed on them. And they made the president bigger than everybody. Bigger than the entire Nigerian state. Nobody can talk. They go, they start. If you don't know what I mean, they will pass a bill, one kangaroo bill, to say they are granting amnesty to bandits. That's going to be our savior. As we speak, no bandit is on record. It's on record to have faced the provisions of the law, to have been prosecuted to the point where they say, oh, they don't sentence this one to that, they don't sentence that to that. So as a matter of fact, the ones already in custody, we learned that they are spending money to train them and reabsorb them to society. These are people who have killed the hundreds. What kind of policy is that? What kind of policy is that? What kind of policy is that? Only in Nigeria. Nigerian people, there's trouble, and the trouble is evident. Unfortunately, some of those we need to hear from, that need to give us direction, hear the kind of things we hear from them. Just listen.
The spirit of perpetual error has fallen on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the APC-led government. Every hour, a monumental, colossal error is committed. And it is becoming a tradition. Government is sensitive about it. Government will not care about it. Reckless appointments are being made, and it is very, very dangerous. I call for a day of national prayer because the worst is about to happen. I'm not doing this video to scare you, but for those who are in the spirit, they will understand that if we continue to allow this spirit of error to operate in the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and in this government, something catastrophic will happen. We are on the edge. We are on the brink. We need a national day of prayer. We need
Nigerians, particularly those of the South Divide. That was Senator Dino Melaye, one of the leaders of the Nigerian state, particularly those of the South. Dino Melaye famously led not just one, series of protests against the government of Goodluck Jonathan. And it was the right thing to do at the time. Under a political platform called the APC, they led Nigerians, against the bad policies of the Jonathan administration. Today, the ferociousness of bad policies we have in this administration, what Dino Melaye can come out to tell Nigerians is we need a day of prayers. We have lived in this kind of deception, in this kind of weakness in the South for far too long. The Northerners are taking measures. They are taking the bull by the horns to continue with the oppression of the South. And you are calling for a day of prayer. Why my other brother, brother pastor, Apostle Suleiman in the South, is buying private jets and glorify himself over the predicaments of those suffering COVID-19 and saying that famously in church, even in terms of COVID-19, they are above right. People are not seeing that we have an existential threat. One that is not going to spare you and your private jet when the outburst comes out. One that is not going to listen to your prayers. Prayer is good, though. Very important. But in the Nigerian state today, we don't need prayers. We don't need prayers. What we need is leadership. In the South, we need leadership. We need those that will come out and galvanize the people, bring them together. Let us face this threat the way it is coming. There should be an orchestrated arrangement by the South. Let us fish out all the bandits in the South and show them the way that they have shown to our innocent and unsuspecting citizens in the South. We need leadership. We need leadership. The likes of Dino Melaye, the likes of the governors of the South. You guys can take that upon yourself. It is not an easy thing for an ordinary man to do. If I could, I would. But even at that, we the ordinary people in the South, it is time for us to set machinery in place. We probably need now, because that Nigeria is in a state of anarchy. Anarchy! Because something is happening. I probably think that in the failings of the leaders that we have that ought to take responsibility for leadership, we probably need to have a private government in the South. We probably need to have a private government. I'm just suggesting, we probably need to have a private premier of the South region of Nigeria. We need a private premier. We need to appoint councillors and our own private governors in all the different regions and parts of the South. And of course, begin to galvanize our people to come together, because nobody's doing that. There's a huge vacuum created in the face of an existential threat. One that is capable of overrunning all of us overnight. We are calling for a national day of prayer, and many people hold that view. You are praying that they are killing you. From Ugo to Uromi in Edo State, we are getting different kinds of reports. But I give kudos to our joint vigilante, network for the effort equally to comb all of these things. All the foreigners of the Niger Republic, of Chad Republic, and of all this nonsense, the borders be open for all of them to come in. A notary will clearly state that all Fulanis everywhere, all over the world can come to Nigeria and reside. We need to defend this Nigeria. When you, the Northerners, are saying Fulanis from all over the world can come to Nigeria and reside, please defend the Nigeria and the territories where they can reside. Let them reside in Bauchi State. Let them reside in Zamfara State. They should have no business coming to the west or the east or the south. Make it clear what part of Nigeria they can reside. Because when the Nigerian Constitution says that Nigerians can live anywhere in Nigeria, Nigerian Constitution did not state that people from the Niger Republic can live anywhere in Nigeria. The Constitution did not state that the Fulanis from Chad, from Mali, from all of these places can come and live in the southern part of Nigeria. So if you are given that information that they can come and reside in Nigeria, all Fulanis can live where, please let them know that they can reside in Bauchi, in Kano, in Kaduna, in Zamfara, in Katsina, in Nasarawa. Please let them know these are the areas they can reside. Not in Edo State, not in Delta State, not in Bayelsa, not in Imo. Certainly not in Ondo State, not in Oyo State. Certainly not in Abia State. They shouldn't reside in Enugu State. Neither should they reside in Cross River or rivers. They shouldn't reside in any of these places. Define the boundaries and let us know where they can reside. Because we cannot afford, right in the south, every bandit apprehended by our gallant security network. They claim that 70% of them are not even Nigerians. How can we have a problem like that? And we have a government. And we have a government. We have a federal government whose primary business is to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Of course, this government has failed woefully, and so therefore, I want to use this medium to thank Nnamdi Kanu and to let him know that part of his vision has our support. And I want to use medium to encourage our people, particularly those of Edo State. I want to say that kudos to our own Edo security operatives Kudos to them for their effort so far. For Edo State is already experiencing some calm, but there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work is ongoing. I want to thank the men and women, the gallant men and women who have come out to say, oh yeah, I have seen a woman. Oh yeah, I have seen a woman. There was a nation once called Nigeria, but that nation right now is sleeping. That nation right now is dying. And therefore, the kingdom of Edo must rise to the occasion of defending herself in this time. I remember history when we remember the Benin Kingdom and of course the exploits of the Benin Kingdom. There is no way we will stand and fold our arms for foreigners and strangers to overrun our land. And to that extent, we must not rise our people, Edo people from wherever we are, from the villages, from the Edo Central down to Edo North and Edo South. We have the responsibility and the duty. Our women cannot be raped anymore. Our men cannot die unsuspecting. Our men cannot go to their farms and be attacked by hoodlums. We must rise to that occasion. I want to thank those who are already rising. And for those of us who cannot be on ground to do what we have to do, we will give our support in every way, shape, or form. We will give our support. And I want to thank the Western region for taking the initiative to set up Amotekun. And of course, I want to thank Sunday Igboho for the role you are playing as a leader of the people. As a leader of the people. Where there's vacuum, you have come to fill the vacuum. To galvanize your people, to move them to say, you must defend yourself. So every territory in Nigeria needs to rise to defend themselves. Meanwhile, I want to say that for Nigeria to be a peaceful state, peace is not necessarily the absence of violence, but the presence of justice. Nigeria must operate as a justiciable state. And to get justice, we need to discuss our terms of Nigerianness. We need to discuss who we are, how we want to live, and how we want our resources to be shared. We need to discuss it. We need to discuss, most of all, having a state police. Having a state police. And my recommendation for Edo State right now, and for all the other states who are having their own vigilante network, please let us keep our men and women together, those who have volunteered. Because very soon, we are having our own state police. And these men and women are going to make up the state police. So we must have proper, regulations. We must have proper records of them. And we must guide them properly and support them through the right channel. My people, I came out to discuss, to have a national chart. I've had that. It's not a one-off matter. We shall continue. But for the meantime, if the federal government of Nigeria knows what is good, if our senators know what is good, we need to expedite action to ensure that we have a national discourse. Nigeria cannot afford to run the way it is running. Our people are dying. There must be stuff to eat. Life is too cheap in Nigeria. And lastly, I want to let you know that the decadence in Nigeria, okay, the immoral, leadership in Nigeria is already making the Nigerian foreign reserve slump to its lowest ever, as a matter of fact. Our own foreign reserve is slumping on a daily basis in billions. And all of these, in turn, will affect every other thing. Economy, every other thing. So at a point in time, we are going to have an empty Nigeria. Very empty. Weightless Nigeria. What's it called? El Rufai, in the time of Jonathan, flattered and said that Jonathan's time, $1 has increased to 220. How much is $1 right now? It's nearly 600 naira. A pound sterling is going to 700 naira. Nearly. And all of that. What you bought 10,000 naira some few weeks ago is probably jumping to 30,000 naira right now. And all of that. And it's going to continue like that unless and until that proper initiative is taken. And the only final thing about it is that we have a leadership that is deliberately inept. A leadership that is clueless. A leadership that cannot hold this country together. We must think about that. We must think about that. All of you Northerners, Governor of Bauchi State, what's it called? All of you making all the noise you are making. Oh, this or this or this or this or that. The wickedness you are promoting will consume you. Take my word for it. The wickedness that you are sponsoring will be the same wickedness that will consume all of you. Don't think that it is only those you are targeting that will be consumed by this wickedness. They will consume all of you who are anti-Nigeria. My people. That's why I will talk and reach. We get many things to think about. For those of us in the South, I beg, you know, this church matter, pray. I beg. Let us emphasize action more than prayer. Please. On that note, my people, I want to end this discourse right now. We'll meet again. My name is still Comrade Lamte Oriaki, and it's been a Comrade Show. Bye for now.
The Comrade Show with Comrade Lamte Oriaki. Live on Facebook and YouTube. Like us, follow us, and be